Coming up on today's episode of the Money Pants Podcast. Is it a budget, a spending plan, or a rewards plan? Or is it all three? Why money in and of itself is a poor motivator. After all, it's just little green pieces of paper. Find out how using a spending plan changes the poor motivator into a fantastic motivator for each individual in the family. Find out why a spending plan creates more satisfaction, helps avoid fights with your kids, and also fights with your spouse. Discover tips and tricks for effectively setting up a spending plan and how this is going to save you time, energy, and get rid of stress for an entire year. All this and more, but first, the joke of the day.
Three men are stuck on an island. One day, the three of them are walking along the beach and discover a magic lamp. They rub it, and of course, out pops a genie. The genie says, "Since I can only grant 3 wishes, you may each have 1. The first guy says, "Well, I've been stuck here for years. I miss my family, my wife, and my life. I just want to go home," and poof, he's gone. The second says, "I've been stuck here for years as well. I miss my old job and my friends. I wish I were back where I used to be," and poof, he's gone. The third man starts to cry, and the genie says, "What's wrong?" And the man whimpers, "I wish my friends were still here." Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Money Pants Podcast. We're your hosts, Hannah and Fontaine Judd, and we're the proud parents of 7 sons and 6 daughters, ranging in age from college student to toddler. We're both BYU graduates and the creators of Money Pants. Head on over to CaptainMoneyPants.com to learn more about what we do and what we're all about. We're on a mission to support families who are trying to raise hardworking kids and to combat the current trend of entitlement. Today's topic is the spending plan. And Hannah, I can't believe it took us 20 episodes to finally get here. This is like, the spending plan is kind of the crux of the whole Money Pants concept. And I'm kind of shocked it took us this long to finally reach this topic. But this is, like I said, it's like the foundation for the whole Money Pants formula. And so we're going to talk about that today, where you reminded me of a story when I was probably 13 years old. And I was one of those kids who always had money. For some reason, I was always earning money. People were paying me to do jobs. I was just one of those kids. You know, there are always those kids where...
Resourceful.
Yeah, okay. And I had a paper route. And I didn't do the best job collecting, but I still made, for a 13-year-old back in, the 80s, I made pretty good money. And I was really excited. I had all this money, and it was in my little chest that I had at the end of my bed. And one day a friend came over and he saw this wad of money, and immediately he goes, "Hey man, can I borrow $20? And I had all this money. I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Here you go." I fully expected him to pay me back. I didn't even think twice about it. And of course, never saw him again. And that $20 was gone. And I realized at least a slight level. Well, first of all, I realized don't loan people money. But secondly, I realized if you don't have a purpose for your money, it disappears really quickly. I wasn't saving up for anything in particular. I didn't have a goal for my money. I had the money because I had the money.
I notice if I have cash in my purse that's just random cash, it just disappears, and I have no idea where it goes.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, this is it's for no purpose, and it just kind of goes away.
And later, almost immediately after this experience I had when I was this 13-year-old kid, right after that, I'm like, wait a minute, I want to buy a computer. This is right when personal computers were coming out, and I wanted a 386. I was really excited about it. And I had gone to the store and I saw the price tag. I'm like, okay, $1,000. I want to save up $1,000. And at the time, I think I had like $400 or $500. And as soon as I made that goal, it really changed how I treated the money that I had. Up to that point, I would spend it on stupid stuff. I'd buy, I wasn't frivolous, but I would buy, candy at the movie theater, or I would buy a Blizzard at the Dairy Queen, or just, things that kids might want. And as soon as I had that spending goal, though, of a computer, all of a sudden I'm like, no, I'm not going to spend it on a $5 Blizzard because I'm saving up for a computer. And it really changed the whole dynamic of how I handled my money. And that's one of the big takeaways, I guess, is when you have a plan, you don't spend your money on stupid stuff. Like the movie Dumb and Dumber comes to mind, where they're about to make a big trip and
no, they had both lost their jobs
that's
that
right.
day, and they had just a tiny bit of cash. It was their last bit of cash, and he said, "Okay, just get the bare essentials." But they didn't really have a list of what those bare essentials were, and so in the next shot, you see, is it Lloyd?
Harold or Lloyd. I can't remember which one is which. Jim Carrey.
Yeah, you see Jim Carrey with a bunch of beer and
A pinwheel,
a
little
pinwheel
thing, and a giant foam hat. You're like, what? A giant foam hat is the essentials, I guess.
Yeah.
But he didn't, because he didn't have a plan. He just kind of blew it on whatever, like impulse purchases, and that's what we've discovered, is that when you don't have a plan, there are impulse purchases that you make. Like, and Hannah, you've experienced this, where
Oh, yeah.
you go to the store.
Grocery shopping. So, through our marriage, there have been times where we've been on tight budgets, and I have a limited amount of money that I have. And I found that if I go to the grocery store without a plan, without a menu, without a shopping list, I'll buy a bunch of stuff, and it actually doesn't last us through the week. We don't eat as well. And everybody will be like, wait, we don't have any food. What happened to all the money? And I'll be like, well, I bought a bunch of stuff. I spent the full amount of money. And so what I found is, if you really want to eat well on a tight budget, you have to create a menu. You have to then create an exact shopping list. Then you go to the store and you buy what's on your list, and you will eat 10 times better than if you just go to the store and go, oh, that looks good. That looks good.
You told me, you said when you go with a list, not only do we eat better, but you spend less.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It saves me
how's
so
that,
much money.
How's that possible?
Well, I either spend less or we starve. So depending on if we have more to spend. So it makes a huge difference in where, wow, we're eating what we wanted to eat. We're eating these delicious meals, these good meals, and the money went to what we actually wanted.
Right.
All because I had a plan and I had it written down. And when I went to the store, I knew what it was that money was for.
Well, okay. And that's the other thing. Like, have you ever gone shopping like when you're hungry? I think that's a really good example of like how easy it is to waste a lot of money really fast. If you go to the store when you're hungry.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But you know what? The stores have it like they have all these impulse purchases, all these things, and they have it down to a science too, where they know like, oh, if we put this in this aisle at this point and it catches
and have
your eye
it in this
way,
color and this, yeah.
They know. And so that's why you're in the checkout aisle and you've got the $8 candy bar and you're like, wait a minute, I can buy that for 30 cents somewhere else. But because it's an impulse purchase and it's right there, and they always have those stupid little trinkets like, oh, a nifty keychain with a little bird on it. And you're like, who would ever buy that? But you do. And if you don't have a plan, you find yourself buying these dumb things, these impulse purchases that you always regret. Even if you don't realize it at the time, you do end up regretting it later.
Yeah.
And anyway, so
having a plan prevents that. You actually are more satisfied with where your money goes. And
this doesn't just apply to allowances
or money pants. You're better off.
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
Literally better off if you go in with a plan and you get what you actually wanted, as opposed to getting kind of tricked into buying things that you didn't really want.
Somebody else, you end up buying things that the other people want you to buy.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what you want to buy. It's like having an invisible salesman. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you should buy this and you should buy this. And you're like, oh, yeah,
or if you have your kids with you, they're not invisible.
They're not invisible at all. They're very loud. They're loud salesmen. And they fall prey to that all the time. Yeah. So, but this is a correct principle, whether you're doing an allowance or you're doing a family budget or you're running a business or if you're doing money pants. This isn't like solely a money pants concept. This is a universal concept when it comes to money. You have to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you will waste untold amounts of money on impulse purchases, things that aren't what you actually wanted.
Well, question for you. You worked for a company where with financial planners, and the people who do the best financially, they're the ones who make financial plans.
Every single one of them has a very detailed budget, not just for the year, but for life. They have these financial goals that they're trying to reach by the time they're 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, and they stick to it. And but then they break it down by year and then by month and even sometimes by week. And they're very disciplined, and they're like, but without that plan, it wouldn't really matter. It would just all
I'm going to
apart.
buy a new car.
Just,
I'm going to, it would just fall apart. And so, you've watched tons and tons of interviews of people who are financially solvent, and they always,
some of them are extremely wealthy.
They always have plans, but
a lot of them came from nothing. A lot of them came from very little, but because they had a plan and their money was, and you hear this term all the time, their money was working for them. Make your money work for you. You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
That's literally what they did, where their money is making them more money. They're wiser in their purchases. They're more satisfied with the things that they purchase. They don't make impulse purchases. They don't make impulse big buys or whatever. But on top of that, the money that they put in savings is getting interest, which then pays them more money. And they're way more satisfied with how their money is working out for them.
Well, you might think, that's no fun, not being able to make impulse purchases. They could. It's just when they make a plan, they realize they don't want to.
Or they put in some money for that. Where they're like, spending money.
This is my spending money that I can do, have that
I
leeway.
can buy that overpriced gum in the checkout line if I want.
Yeah, but they actually plan on it, and so
there's a limit too. Like
but
they give themselves $10 a week or $100 a month or whatever it is.
But they actually get what they really want, and so your impulse buys aren't actually what you really want. And if you sit back and think about it before you even have the money in your hand and write down a plan, you'll go, actually, what I really, really want is this.
Right.
And so it's a trick because you're like, that's no fun. But no, it's way more fun because you actually get what you really, really wanted.
Right.
And
I didn't
it's
want,
possible.
As a 13-year-old kid, I didn't want all those candy bars and AM, PM hamburgers and movie tickets. I really wanted a computer. But if I didn't have a plan, I would have filled up my life with all these candy wrappers and dumb movies and never actually walked away with the thing that I really wanted, which was a computer.
Yeah, and that actually had a big impact on you because it really kind of affected what you studied and your career.
Yes, it did.
And
it sure did.
Things like that.
I did all sorts of cool things with that computer. I learned a lot. I ended up getting an Amiga, though, which was even cooler because it had a sound card and I could compose music on the computer, which was like, that still blows me away how cool that is. Anyway, so when you're creating a spending plan, the whole concept is, especially within Money Pants, is you're attaching meaning to the money, where it's not a boring budget or it's almost like, how are you going to spend the money you earn? It's an earnings
it's a reward
plan,
plan,
a reward
actually.
plan.
Yeah, I would think of it more as a reward plan.
Well, but it's a spending plan, which is why we call it that. But it's how are you going to reward yourself for the hard work that you do? And how are you going to spend the money that you earn through all that hard work to reward yourself for all that hard work? It really is kind of like you said, kind of like a rewards plan. Mm-hmm. And the reason why it works is because you're translating that money that you're earning into rewards,
into something that's meaningful to you.
And so why isn't it just money? Why don't we just focus on, well, you should really be focusing on the money? It's because nobody cares about little green slips of paper. Those little green slips of paper really mean very little. It's what those green slips of paper represent. For what's the author, Dan Brown?
Dan Brown. He's a famous author. He writes thrillers, and he's very talented.
No, he did the Da Vinci Code. That's the one I know.
Yeah, he did Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons.
If you've never read his books, that I don't. You may not like them, but you can't put them down. They're so well written.
They're page turners.
Yeah, they really
just
are.
Keep you going and going and going from the very first page. On master classes, he teaches a whole class on how to write thrillers, and it's the best writing class I've ever best writing advice I've ever had. Anyway, one of his classes, he's talking about creating motives for your protagonist and for your villain. And he goes, okay, the one motive you should never have is money. He said, don't give that to one of your characters. That is a really lame, a very weak motive. And he said, now you could, what you do instead is say, okay, well, what do they want the money for? Oh, their sister's dying of this disease. She has to get this operation. It costs a bunch of money. And if she doesn't get it by this time, she's going to die.
So the money is actually attached to...
Oh, yeah. Now, we do care about that.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, okay, this person does care about something, and it's something really meaningful. But the motive isn't money. The motive is
what the money represents.
What the money represents.
So it could be somebody's trying to buy their freedom in the movie, where they're like, if they can get a certain amount of money, then they can buy the passage to the country that they want to go to. And so the money...
And get out of the situation that they're in.
Yeah, it's not the money, though. It's what it represents.
Yes. And so he says you can't ever just leave it at money, because money is a weak motivator.
It's little green slips of paper.
It's lame. Nobody cares about that.
It's little round...
It's not strong enough.
What is it, Coneheads? Little round Tinder discs? where you're like, it's a little round... circle, like whoop-de-doo. You have a circle. I have a little green slip of paper. Like, those don't mean anything. It's what it represents, what that money can do.
Yeah, and so Dan Brown was saying you have to translate that money into the actual motive,
right?
Into the actual thing. Similarly, when you're using money pants, you can't just leave it at, hey, look, you got more money. You got more money. You got more money. Who cares? Your kids don't care.
Well, no, those are just numbers.
Those are just numbers. It's what do I care about that? It's not until you do a spending plan and you translate it into something that means something to them do they go, ooh, okay, that does motivate me.
Well, that is why when coming up with spending plans for your kids, when you're using the app, you've got to get them on board. You have to get their input. What is it that they want more than anything? We talk about hot buttons. What is it that your kids want? And then attach the money to that. So the money now represents
ballet classes,
or basketball shoes, or
scout camp,
science camp. These things that they're really, or colored pencils, or whatever it may be, new canvases, whatever it may be. Their input is critical, because you're translating the money into what they really want.
So yeah, when they go to their piggy banks on the app, it doesn't just show, oh, you got more money. Oh, you got more money. No, it shows you have this much money towards
clothing.
Ballet.
Uh-huh.
You have this much money towards,
Your
whatever they're
camp.
working towards,
Mm-hmm.
that they were excited about. It shows, so it actually is defining the reward for them, and it reinforces their actual motivation.
When they're doing their job and they're doing these chores that they do on a regular basis, really what they should be thinking, and this is what we hope, is that they're thinking ballet class, ballet class, ballet class, rather than thinking, I'm doing the dishes,
I'm going to get more money.
No, they're thinking ballet class is coming up, ballet class is coming, or they're thinking, ooh, football cleats, or science camp, science. That's what's going through their head. And so on the flip side, of course, is then when they get a fee or they end up having to pay for something that they've broken or damaged or destroyed, they're thinking, oh no ballet classes.
I'm not going to be able to buy those basketball shoes I wanted before basketball starts.
No science class or camp, where all of a sudden the money, and in this case the fees or the consequences, have an incredible meaning. And the cool thing about that is then the kids really start to understand, oh, I see the value of money. I see the value of what all this work and effort that I'm putting into. It means a lot more to them. Anyway.
Well, and we saw the importance of this during the COVID-19 lockdowns. A lot of things that our kids had on their spending plans that they were saving for, they got canceled. Yeah. And they got put up in the air.
Well, no, they were excited about
swim team. They were excited about the football season.
And soccer.
But when it became, we don't know if these things are going to happen, the motivation levels, we noticed that affected the motivation levels, because then it turned into, well, we're saving up this money.
For what?
And
for what?
We're like, some of these things will open up eventually. Okay, guys, hang in there.
Maybe.
But we had to come up with new spending plans and things. But a lot of
we had to do new spending plans. We had to.
Because all these things that were no longer options. But we got to see how that affected, not having a spending plan that was legitimate affected motivation.
Just earning money wasn't enough. It had to be attached to something. It had to have an end goal. a tangible something that they were working towards. It had to be, and that's why we chose money. Like, that's why we use cash money as the reward for money pants, because it's liquid, it's flexible, it's versatile. It can, because it means different things to different people. Everybody interprets, like, if you find grandma gives you $20, you find $20 on the ground, or whatever, the first thing goes through your mind is not, ooh, wow, a green piece of paper. No, the first thing goes through your mind is, oh, cool, now I can buy the fill in the blank. Oh, now I can buy those shoes that I wanted. Where you don't think about, oh, this is an exciting green piece of paper with a person's picture on it. You think, what can the money do for you? What options does it give you? So, and as you said, COVID-19 kind of threw a wrench in the works, but all that aside, and we recreated new budgets, and there were some pretty major benefits from doing it this way. And one of them, I think maybe my favorite, is the fact that I don't have to micromanage my kids' money. Like, they're learning to handle money, and they're able to make decisions and make purchases and all that, but they're the ones tracking it. They're the ones deciding how much to spend and where and when. And we talk about that in the directed spending video too. It's really cool to watch their little brains churning, going, oh, wait, I have $40 in clothing, but if I spend $10 here and $1.50 here, and I can get this for 50 cents and I can get this for $3. I, as the parent, I'm not the one doing all that math. I'm not the one keeping track of all that. It's not my job, because it's their money.
Yeah, but at the same time, what's also cool is with the app, when we designed the app, we looked at all the different budgeting apps that were out there.
Okay, I'm just going to say most of them are awful.
Yeah.
They are. Okay, people have a hard time with numbers. Like, when you just see a screen full of numbers, your head just kind of explodes on the inside a little bit, and you're just like, this is just a bunch of numbers. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Yeah. And most of the budgeting apps were like that, where they just had all these numbers on the page, and you're like, this is not helpful.
Well, not only that, but most of the apps tell you what you spent and that you overspent. You find out after the fact that, oh, you shouldn't have spent that. You shouldn't have done that.
They're all after the fact.
So,
yeah.
So what's different about the Money Pants app is we're like, we came up with it by thinking, how could you make it so a little kid, like a 5-year-old or a 7-year-old, could manage a budget and do it simply? And what we realized later was, oh, well, this is good for adults too, because...
No, okay. So I remember back in Glendale, driving down, I can't remember what's the main drag brand, I think it was, driving down the street, and I had money, and I've said this before, I had money in the bank. I think I had $1,000 in the bank, and I didn't know what it was for. I knew I had bills coming up, but I didn't know how much I could spend on what. Of that $1,000, it was just $1,000 sitting in my bank account.
We were scared to spend it.
And I didn't want to spend a dime, because I'm like, I know I have rent, and I think rent was like $450, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And I knew some of it was for that. And I knew I had money coming in too, but I didn't know how much I could spend. I needed clothes, and I was scared to death to spend any money on clothes, because I just didn't know how much of that $1,000 in the bank went to where. Yeah. And so we were talking about it, and we're like, wouldn't it be great if instead of $1,000, I had different, all these little piggy banks, or envelopes, I guess is the envelope system. But what if we just had a bunch of piggy banks, and it told me, no. Yeah, you got $1,000, but you have $450 for rent, and that one's filled up. Mm-hmm. And you have $100 for clothing, and that one's filled up. And you have $50 for your electric bill coming up, and you got $20 for your internet. And back then it was dial-up, but you have $20 for your internet
that you can spend right now,
and it's there right now, ready to spend. And I was like, wouldn't that be a better app? Wouldn't that be so much more helpful than just seeing the total? So
basically you do this setup for the app, and it's a set it, forget it type of thing, where you do this little bit of work when you're setting it up at the beginning of the year, and you say, okay, this is where I want the money to go and when. And then for the rest of the year, you don't have to worry about it. The app puts, when you get paid and you earn your money, the app puts the money where you need it to go without you having to do the math.
But then as soon as it's in the piggy bank, you can spend it.
Yeah, so all your kid has to do for the rest of the year, if they're like, Mom, can I buy this or can I do this? Look at the app. Oh, you have $30 in clothing right now. yeah, you can spend up to $30 in clothing, and
here's the cool thing,
and you'll have enough money for your piano lessons, and you don't need to worry about that. The app lets you know, hey, you're on track, and all your budgets are going fine. Whereas before we had the app, what would happen is we'd have kids, when we tried this out, not only with our own family but other families, kids would be in the same situation adults are often in, where I have $500, but I don't know if I can spend it.
Right.
Because this is coming up and this is coming up. And so they were scared to spend their money ever. And so with this app, it just takes all that anxiety away, where you just say, hey, these are the things I want to do. The app goes, okay. It figures out where the money needs to go. And then you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the year. It is set it and forget it.
And the great thing is, too, is as the piggy banks fill up during the course of the year, oh, I've got $30 in my clothing budget I can spend. In my clothing piggy bank, I can spend today. But if I tap on it, it'll tell me, yeah, you're expecting to get 60 by the end of the year. So you even know like what the goal is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm halfway towards my goal. I can spend.
It gives
but I
you
can spend
all
that
the
money
information.
Today. I
yeah,
love it.
that money is sitting there today. If you spend $30 today, it will not.
Why wasn't this
ruin...
our first podcast?
Yeah.
This is one of my that we worked really hard.
So,
this took the longest time to figure out.
I think, I mean, it's nice that we have, that we track people's jobs and their habits and stuff like that.
And mastery.
Yeah. It's nice that we have that. But the huge benefit of the Money Pants app is that it does this budgeting work for every individual in your family. And where it just takes all the stress out of giving people the money, where you're like, oh, I don't have to micromanage that and go, okay, honey, you can't spend that.
Right.
Because otherwise you'd be like, no, you know what? It's easier for me just to manage it in one budget.
Yeah.
So, but with the app, it makes it.
Each family member can have their own separate budget.
Yeah, and
they do have their own.
Yeah,
separate
they have their
budget.
own separate budget.
We call it a spending plan.
And it's not a headache and it's not stressful. So that's a huge thing. Is there are no budgeting headaches if you use this. It takes a little bit of work to set up, and I say that because a lot of people when they buy the app, they stop at the spending plan. They don't during the setup, and they're like, oh, I don't want to. Oh, it's money, and I have to budget and.
Okay. You have to understand the whole concept of Money Pants is you're going to give your kids the opportunity to earn some of the money that you were spending anyway. That's the whole idea. Now, if you don't give your kids financial responsibilities, but give them money that you were spending, what do you think they're going to spend it on? Like, oh, here's $400. We were going to spend it on football, but little Johnny, here you go. Here's the $400. Go for it. Johnny's going to go blow it on a new skateboard or go buy, $400 worth of candy at Walmart, where the kids have, when they receive these large amounts of money from an allowance or from earnings or whatever it is, they need to have an equal amount of responsibility. Like, oh, this $400 we were spending on football is now your responsibility. You get to earn it, and you earn it by developing your habits and the things becoming the person you want to become. In addition, now you get to choose which football team you're going to join, and how you're going to which cleats you're going to buy, and how you're going to spend that money, because it's now you get more freedom that way, and it's really cool. Again,
they love it. They love the freedom, and it like builds their maturity and their confidence. But it's a little bit of work setting it up at the beginning, but it truly is set it and forget it, where. It makes the rest of the year so easy.
You can set up a kid's budget. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 minutes if it's simple. Like, I have soccer, and then the rest throw into clothing. Like, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about
the actual. You want to talk about the actual setup?
Yeah. Let's talk. Okay.
So we're going to walk you through how you would do the spending plan.
So you do, step 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're doing the app. You've got, enter your household income, then you enter in the family members, then you choose the jobs, all the jobs to run the home. Then everybody does their own habits. And then the last thing is everybody has to come up with their own spending plan. And there are 4 parts to a spending plan. And the first one is the app's going to ask you, hey, does Johnny, we'll use Johnny. Does Johnny have any existing money? Like, that's money he's got in his piggy bank already, or stuffed under his mattress, or in the bank, his savings account, or whatever, or in his little, sock in his drawer. Collect all that money up and put it into his expense baggie, and enter that into the app. And you may be wondering, well, why would I do that? That it's his money. Why are we putting his money into the app? Well,
this is his budgeting tool,
Yeah.
so he knows how much money he has and where it is. And so
when he goes to spend the money, he doesn't have to wait. How much did I have in my sock at home? And how much was under the mattress? And how much is in my savings account in the bank? No, it's all there.
He looks at the app and he can see where he stands financially by one glance,
which is really helpful. And it's all in one place. It's all consolidated. So after you've done that, then the next step, the app will ask, okay, well, is he going to earn any outside income? And some people get tripped up on this, where we had one family where they entered in their salaries. I'm like, no. That the outside income for a person is stuff that's not being used to pay the family bills.
It's like if I had an Etsy account where I was making homemade hair bows and selling them on the side for extra money, spending money for myself.
That would go in
outside
that would
income.
Go here.
Yeah. And I was using that to go get my nails done or go to the hair salon or something like that. But if I was using that to pay my bills, like, oh no, this Etsy account pays our water bill.
Then that would go on the household income when you first set up the app.
That's not my personal money.
Yeah, if I have an eBay
money.
account and I use that money to help pay the mortgage, and I sell all these products so we can pay our rent or pay our mortgage every month, that should be money that's considered as
bills.
Household income.
Yeah, household.
So that does not go here. But any money and we use the examples of lawn mowing or babysitting or any sort of, or working, a teenager working at McDonald's.
Yeah, my daughter, she works at McDonald's once a week.
Paper route. That sort of stuff.
But that's income she counts on every single week.
Right. And it should be, if you're entering it in this outside income, Hannah, you mentioned it should be somewhat regular. So you can count on it.
Yeah. Well, you might get random babysitting jobs. You can't count on that because I've had babysitters where, they go 4 or 5 months with no jobs and then, 3 pop up here.
Right. But if you have a regular thing with, you babysit for this couple, twice every month or once every month, and that's going to happen, then you should enter it here.
Yeah.
As outside income.
And then the other thing is, like I said, let's take the example of my daughter who works at McDonald's. She usually works 4 or 5 hours a day, but sometimes she only gets 2 or 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And so when you're entering in the outside income, the rule of thumb is you want to estimate low.
Right.
You don't want to go, to take best case scenario. You want to be conservative and you want to say, I'll earn this amount, at least this amount.
Right.
And so
because your budget's going to be, your spending plan's going to be based off of how much you earn.
Yeah. If you earn more, gravy, that's great.
That'll go into fund money. Yep.
but be very modest, be very conservative in what you expect. And if you're not sure that it will be a regular job, just don't even include it.
Exactly. So. And then the next, I guess it's not really a step, but the next page in the app will show, hey, this is what little Johnny has the potential to earn this year. And I keep saying this, but I want to be extremely clear. This may seem like a big number. Let's say you've gone through the app, you've done all the setup, and you get to this page, and it says that little Johnny, who's 9 years old, is going to be able to earn $1,000 this year. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute, what?
Wait a minute, what am I signing up for here?
Trust me, we've done the math. We have all the data to back it up. That is very accurate. And it is money that you were already planning. This is, to a high degree of accuracy, money that you were already going to spend on him during the year.
In certain categories. And we have those categories listed as piggy banks. Sometimes we've had some parents who are like, yeah, I'm going to have my kids start paying for things.
No.
And they'll have we had one mom who had her children paying for the electric bill. And that's not the $1,000 that Johnny's getting. We were taking it from money, discretionary money you were already spending on him.
Right, that's what that money is. That's where that money comes from.
We weren't taking your electric bill and putting that in there. Right. Otherwise, that number would have been higher.
Yeah.
So you want to stick to the piggy banks that we have listed there.
The money that Money Pants uses to fund the system is a fraction of the household income. It's the discretionary money that every family spends, and depending on how much you make, it change how many kids you have. It changes that amount.
It's not your mortgage. It's not your medical bills. It's not your food. It's not, those expenses are not part of Money Pants. And so those aren't things that should be assigned out
that
in
segues,
this case.
And that's the last of the steps when you're setting up a spending plan is the piggy banks page. And I really like this page. I think it's fun. It's very, very clear. There are 12 piggy banks. And those are the different categories that
Money Pants does cover.
Exactly. And it's things like clothing, personal care, sports and dance, music and art, school, electronics, summer camps, transportation. And then we threw in, an other just in case we missed something. But then at the bottom, there are the 3 specialty piggy banks, and they're automatically calculated. And those are fund money, savings, and donations, where charitable donations, 10% of your income, and we've talked about this before, but we are big believers in tithing, where when you receive money, and we'll talk about this at a future date as well, but when you receive money, if you take just a small portion of that to go to help other people who are less fortunate, it always comes back in spades. It's uncanny.
Give that money to God, and
it's uncanny. It doesn't have to be to a church. It could be to a charitable organization. It could be Habitat for Humanity. It could be the Red Cross.
Yeah, if you don't have a church that you're affiliated with, then pick a charity.
There is a fundamental rule of finances, and I've read this from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've heard this from other Warren Buffett. I've heard this from all
Dave
these
Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. All of these financial gurus. They're all like, no. You got to tithe. You have to. And tithe means 1/10. And so if you just give a small fraction of what you earn to help others, and the cool thing is once you start using this, and we've noticed in our own family, our kids end up being more generous with their money, even though they're already giving 10% to help other people. It's the weirdest thing, but it has a tendency to engender more generosity, and they're more.
So instead of thinking me,
you're
it's like
automatically thinking of others first.
I'm including others in my budget here.
Anyway, don't want to go into that much more, but I wanted to point that out. 10% goes towards charity. 10% of savings. Again, these are basic principles. 10% of your money should go towards a future goal. And we have one mom who's like, oh no, my kids can't touch that until they go to college. That's their college fund, or at least there's their supplementary college fund. I don't think 10% of your money can really, unless you're extremely rich, I don't think 10%.
Yeah, but you know what? It could probably help you get your first apartment or your first payment until you get a job.
Exactly. Or pay for your books or whatever.
Yeah, it's a start.
And then 10% is fun money. And this is what we were talking about earlier, Hannah, where it's like, hey, this is money you can just spend on whatever. You don't have to, it doesn't have these are impulse purchases.
It gives you a wiggle room.
Yeah.
It's your wiggle room budget.
Exactly. And then the remaining 9 are where the rest of the money goes. Now, going back to the whole Johnny makes $1,000 a year. He can earn, his potential earnings for the year is $1,000. So by the time you get to the piggy banks page, though, you're going to be like, wait a minute, it says I can only put in $700. Well, that's because $100 went towards tithing or donations. $100 went towards fund money, and $100 went towards savings.
Yeah, so it's set aside for that. So you can see those 3 piggy banks at the bottom.
So that leaves $700 left for him to spend. And as you mentioned, Hannah, again, and can't be more clear on this, this is not for household bills. This is not the gas bill. This is not the water and sewage bill. This is not the mortgage payment or the electric bill or the car payment. These are just pretty much specifically the categories that we list in the piggy banks. It's the discretionary income. Yeah. The money you were already spending.
we actually labeled the piggy banks specifically to communicate that hey, these are the categories.
Yeah.
Don't go beyond these categories.
And then just a rule of thumb, or I guess word to the wise: keep your spending plan simple. We've actually made this mistake where we did, because if you tap on the clothing piggy bank, I think there's like 9 or something different places in there. There's like socks and underwear and shoes and shirts and pants and coats and jewelry and purses and wallets. And if you go into extreme detail, like, oh, well, I'm going to $10 in purses and $50 in jewelry and $80 in swimwear and $50 in a dress and all that. Well, the problem is the app puts money into each one of those as like it's its own piggy bank.
Its own little piggy bank.
And so when you go to spend the money, you'd be like, oh, wait, I only have $3.25 in this one and this. Like,
well, because
I
the
have $50 in clothing,
yeah.
but I've got $3 in jewelry and $4 in dresses. And you're like, it'll take forever for all those to fill up. It's better just to lump all of your clothing expenses into one sum and call it all clothing.
Yeah, the subcategories that are pre-filled, you don't need to use those. You can just do one.
Those are to give you ideas, though.
But they're to give you ideas of what you might be spending your money on. It's more to jog your memory.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe we'll figure out a better way to communicate that. But
I like it though.
I like
it's
it.
helpful.
It's helpful, but if you can keep it simple and just lump it into one clothing fund, that's better.
Especially when it comes to when you get ready to spend that money, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, simple. Keeping
keep
it simple is better.
If you don't know the actual amount of an expense, but you know it's coming up, like soccer, because that changes every year. You're like, oh, some years it's more, some years it's less.
Yeah. Where you're like, I think it's about this much. The rule of thumb there is estimate high.
So it's the opposite of income.
Yeah.
When you're estimating your income, estimate low. When you're estimating your expenses, you estimate high, and you'll never be disappointed because it'll always work in your favor. If you estimate high and it comes in less, hey, great, I have more money.
Yeah, but in my experience, estimating high is good because when you join soccer, oh, there's the coach's gift. Oh, there's the pizza party. Oh, there's
the special socks we played for the championship game. And,
there's these T-shirts everybody's going to buy, and they just keep you do your registration, but there's all these little other costs that end up popping up. So estimate high.
So, but then...
in each of the categories, there are pre-filled subcategories. And as we said, those are more to jog your memory.
Right.
You don't need to use those. So if you go into the sports one, for example, it'll have it like broken down. Oh, registration, gear, and all that.
Tuition.
Yeah,
uniform,
uniform, equipment, competitions. What you can do is just go, okay, basketball, $400. Football, $500.
Right.
And then you're done.
And
you
that
don't
includes
need
all
to,
the gear and the
just
the
add
fees
that up.
Yeah.
But look at the categories to make sure you're not missing anything.
Right.
But then just lump it up into one thing. And then when you're done with the budget, the other categories will disappear. But you can rename them whatever you need to rename them.
We tried to make it as customizable as possible.
Yeah.
But then you bring up football and soccer, and a lot of times though these have due dates. What do you do? Like, because as it is right now, if you enter in money, it'll slowly fill that piggy bank during the course of a year. So if your goal is to have, $120 in your dress clothing piggy bank, it's going to put $10 in that piggy bank each month. And at the end of the year, you'll have $120. But what if you need the money sooner? What if something has a due date, like football?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people, they'll use like a manual, like envelope system. And the stress there is when something does have a due date, it's like, okay, you have to calculate, okay, how much do I need to put here in this envelope to make sure I'm going to be ready by August to
by the
have
time
that
it's
payment.
Due. Yeah, exactly.
And so the great thing is we've thought of that, and all you have to
We're
do
so smart.
is if there is a hard deadline for something where, hey, this soccer registration is due in August, and you got to have that, then all you do is it will give you the option when you enter in the amount, it'll give you the option, do you want to add in a due date?
Yeah.
And
a little calendar pops up and you can swipe. And
you can swipe it and say, yep, I need the money by this time. And so then what will happen is if any items that have due dates are given priority by the app. So
I think this is really cool.
Yeah,
This is go ahead.
Oh, okay. So any items that are given due dates are given priority by the app over the other piggy banks. And so what the app will do is it will calculate how much it needs to be putting in there on a regular basis in order to reach the goal in a timely manner. And it will make sure that amount is put aside every week when you get paid.
At the expense, though, of other piggy banks that aren't due. So your clothing budget may be zero for the first few months because all of your money is going towards soccer.
This looming due date that's coming up.
But then as soon as soccer is over, then it will say, okay, well, now I can put a larger portion of money into your clothing budget that we neglected in favor of soccer. I think it's pretty clever. And I really like that feature where when the money is in the piggy banks, you can have confidence, whatever money's in that piggy bank at that time, you can spend it and not worry, because as long as you're on track
As
financially,
long as you're doing your chores and
you're going to have the money you need when it's due.
Yes. And so, like I said, it's a set it, forget it. You enter in those due dates, the app goes, okay, got it. I'll take care of that for you.
So, and then I guess the next question would be, what if something has a recurring due date? Like
piano lessons.
Yeah, or dance lessons, or something
where
like that.
you're supposed to pay at the beginning of each month. The app, you can do that. All you do is when you enter in the amount, you enter in the amount that you enter in is the monthly amount. You say, okay, I have to pay $90 every month for piano lessons, and then you enter in when the first payment's due, and then you click if it's repeating monthly, then you click monthly, and then you say, okay, the last payment's going to be due in May because that's when piano's over.
And it gives you the total at the bottom.
And at the bottom it will tell you, okay, for all those months added together, your grand total is going to be, $600 or whatever the cost of piano is for that amount of time. And then you just save it, and once again, the app takes care of it for you. It takes your earnings that you get each week, and it knows how much to put aside into that piggy bank so that you don't have to worry about it.
Each month.
So anyway, it's totally worth taking a little bit of time to set this up and put in those due dates if it has due dates, and then you do not have to worry about it during the rest of the year.
But now, though, I think this is a problem we had when we first started sharing this concept with other parents, because we'd been doing it forever. But when we started trying to help other parents set it up, we ran into this problem, and that is, what if the due date is really soon, like right around the corner? Like mom and dad are really excited, they want to do money pants, and
have Sally does cheerleading every year,
and it's like $500, and that's
next month.
It's
next month, and there's no way Sally can earn $500 in 1 month.
She's just like, we were using the example of Johnny earlier. Well, we use the same number for Sally. She can earn $1,000 a year, and she can't earn $500 within the next month. There's just no.
She can't earn it that quickly.
Yeah,
she's gonna earn it this year, but she can't earn it that quickly.
So the fair thing to do is to pull Sally aside and say, "I know you wanted to do cheerleading, but sorry. Can't do it this year.
We're doing money pants."
That's terrible. No, don't say that.
That wouldn't be fair to say.
That would be awful.
That'd be really disappointing. But at the same time,
well, no.
What do you do? Do you just go ahead and say, oh, we'll go ahead and pay for cheerleading
she can't afford it. She can't afford it in time.
So we'll just go ahead and pay for you. But how's that fair? Everybody else in the family's having to.
No, little Johnny's saving up $400 for football, and he has to work for it, even though it's 4 months down the road. Yet Sally gets a free ride because it's sooner. And Johnny's like, time out. That's not fair. Mom, Dad, hello.
She's getting $400 extra
for free
out of we're both earning about $1,000, and she's getting a bonus $400 for the year.
We're both going to be working. I'm
going to sign up for cheerleading.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Well, this is the how Money Pants handles that is through subsidies. Mm-hmm. And so when you enter in a due date and it fits within you enter in an item of where you want your money to go, and it fits in your budget. It fits in your $1,000 for that year.
Sally would earn $1,000, $500 fits within that, sure.
But you don't have enough time to earn it because the due date's too soon. What it does is the app goes, well, this is how much you could earn by that time. And then it says, but this is how much you're going to be short. Mm-hmm. And so then it's...
Yeah, if Sally works her tail off, by the time cheerleading is due, she will have earned $100. But she's still going to be $400 short. So then it says, Mom, Dad, you need to subsidize Sally's account by $400. And all of a sudden it's fair because she's able to do cheerleading, but it reminds me of the bicycle story. What's the bicycle story where the little boy wanted to buy a bicycle? He saw this great bicycle in the store, and the dad's like, okay, tell you what, if you earn, it's $50, we have all these jobs for you to do, work hard, and I'll bring you back here to buy it. And the kid works all summer, and he works really hard, and at the end of the summer, he's got $28. And he's there in front of the store, and he's counting out his money. He's like, Dad, I'm not even close. And the dad says, tell you what, I know how hard you worked. I'll cover the difference.
Yeah.
I know
And
you
this
did.
isn't quite as nice as
I know,
that.
but you did your best,
Yeah.
and I will cover because I know you did it as the best you could. You earned as much as you possibly could. I know that you're still short. I'll cover the difference.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
It's kind of like that, where Sally still has to earn the $100 before cheerleading.
Yep.
And
So the
do all
app
her
calculates
stuff,
what she can do, and then the parents
step in and subsidize.
subsidize with the rest.
Now, what happens though during the rest of the year is that money that was subsidized, Sally still.
Yeah, it's not free money.
No, the app ends up taking money out of her earnings and putting it back into that what we call subsidy account of $400 and refilling that up to the $400.
And that's money she can't touch. So after she earns the money and she pays for, she got the subsidy from mom and dad, she earned the $100 herself, and she pays for cheerleading, the app keeps filling up that piggy bank until it reaches $500 because that's what you told it to do. But the thing is that other $400 after she's paid for her cheerleading, she can't touch that because the app is smart enough to realize she's probably going to do it again next year. And so we need to set that money aside for Sally to do cheerleading next year so that next year she doesn't need a subsidy. The money's already going to be there. So she doesn't get a subsidy every year from mom and dad, just the very first time for parents who are transitioning into using Money Pants. And it's very effective.
Yeah, because it wasn't fair. She didn't have enough time to earn that. She would have needed to be told several months ahead of time that, hey, you're going to start paying for this.
At the same time, it was money the parents were planning on spending anyway.
Yeah.
So this is that great medium where, well, the parents pay for what Sally can't, and Sally still has to work to earn it. Kind of cool.
But then what you also let Sally know is if she doesn't do cheerleading the next year, though,
she has to pay the $400
then
that's in her piggy bank.
$400 goes back to mom and dad.
And that's also fair. Makes sense, right?
So it's very fair. It's well thought out, and
pat yourself on the back there, Hannah.
You can move forward.
So, and that's the whole concept of subsidies, and it just makes the transition into using Money Pants simple, easy, straightforward, and we think pretty fair.
One of the great things, we've talked about all the different steps, all the different parts of setting up this spending plan.
And this is where some people they get stumped.
It's the hardest part. It's the hardest part to set up.
You have to think of through everything. Oh, and that's the other thing is, as you're doing it though, you'll be surprised. You'll find out, wait, I don't have enough money for my kids to get everything I wanted to buy them because that's how much you were spending. You're going to be shocked. You'll be like, whoa, this is pretty accurate. You'll look at the budget and go, whoa, I only have $50 to buy clothes for them. I guess that's what I normally do buy. And I only have. And
that's why we go to garage sales.
Yes, and it's really cool to see. You're like, oh.
They're not going to be shopping at Nordstrom.
It is accurate. Shocking.
So yeah, and then what's great is if you keep using Money Pants, the next year when it's time to redo spending plans,
you got to go through all this again.
No, a lot of times your spending plan is pretty similar the next year. For example, some families, we do football in the fall, we do basketball in the spring, and we do scout camp in the summer. And so when you're going through the second year to set up your budget, you don't have to start from scratch. You have the option of
I like that.
What does it say
I forget.
when
it
you
says restore previous spending plan.
Restore previous spending plan. And what will happen is it'll automatically repopulate your piggy banks with your plans that you had the last year, and then you can tweak it if you need to from there, and then you'll just have to update like due dates and but other than that, it'll all be there, and it will be even faster the second year.
Right.
And so you have to make a couple of tweaks, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah, and I like that. It really is set it and forget it. Like you do 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes of work once, and it pays dividends for not only that year, but for every year afterwards. And I can't believe it took us this long to do the spending plan because this is such a great tool.
Well, and it also prevents problems because as you do the spending plan, it helps you communicate with your kids the expectations, because as we've said,
how many parents get mad that Johnny bought X, Y, and Z with the money that he earned with his allowance? Why did you buy that? Like, that was supposed to go for school clothes and you bought a skateboard or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, you blew all your money on what?
Yeah, so when you do the spending plan, that's when you communicate to your kids of, hey, these are you're going to be earning all this money, but here are the rules of the game. It's within these boundaries. Only 10% of your money goes to fun money. The rest of it has to go to these categories. So as we talked about in the directed spending video, for example, a family may say, hey, you got to be taking music lessons. We want everybody in the family to be developing a musical talent or an artistic talent. What is yours going to be?
Right.
And then you let them pick within that. Oh, I want to learn the trumpet. Oh, I like drumming. Oh, I really want to be able to sing.
The kazoo.
The kazoo. No, you're out of the herd. You're going to have to practice that in the far corner of the basement. Anyway, so, but that's where you set that up. And so there are clear expectations. And
but it preemptively stops fights.
Well, you're not going to have your kids go, well, it's my money and I can do with it what I want. And because this is the time where you talk about, well, we're doing money pants, but here are the boundaries. You're not allowed buying this, this, and this, and this.
Right.
And here's what you can spend it on.
And again, here's the framework.
Yeah. This is not a free for all.
No. And that's huge.
And the spending plan helps communicate that and reinforce that, and also is a constant reminder of that. Of no, this is what the money's for.
But this concept also works though between spouses, where it's not just preventing fights between you and the kids, like, Johnny, why did you buy that with the money that I gave you for football? No.
How many times does that same fight happen between husband and wife? Like, wait a minute, you didn't talk to me about that.
Yes,
I've been scrimping. I've been saving all these pennies,
which
brand of spaghetti to buy.
And you went out and bought a barbecue. You went out and bought a new DeWalt toolkit.
You didn't talk to me, and you just spend money whenever you want, and I have to I'm here scrimping and saving. What? You can't do that. You need to talk to me about purchases like that.
Money pants. Mom and dad should be in on it, and they should have their own budgets, and that's their discretionary money. For instance, dad could make his own discretionary, like dad makes $1,000 a year too using money pants, and he's developing talents and abilities and things that he wants to do anyway, and he's rewarding himself.
Time with his kids. He's doing all these things.
And he's updating finances, and he's getting paid for maintaining the house, and maybe he gets more, and now he can save up for that barbecue that he wanted. And it turns out it's only $250. But here's the cool thing, too.
I'm not going to get mad at him for buying a barbecue.
Actually, Mom's going to get excited. She's like, oh, good. Because it's like one of those bowling ball gifts.
It's for everyone in the family. It's for everybody to
enjoy. No, but it's cool because Dad because it's his money that he worked so hard to earn, and it's not the family money, which is way easier to spend. Dad's not going to buy the most expensive barbecue. He's not going to justify, the $300 one's almost the same as the $400 one. I'll just buy the $400 one. The family will pay for it. No, because it's his money. He'd be like, no, this $300 one, I have a coupon for that. But I know somebody who down the street, they just bought one. They said they didn't like it. Maybe they'll sell it to me for cheaper. And all of a sudden, the money gets stretched further. It's the craziest thing. But not only that, as you said, Hannah, Dad won't get mad at Mom for coloring her hair.
Yeah,
because it's her money.
Be going, how much did you spend on that hair salon?
Okay, how many fights? What's the everybody says that the number one cause of fights in the marriage is about
money.
Spending
money.
Of course it is, because they don't have a budget, they don't have a plan. But when couples put themselves on money pants, and that discretionary money, that money that they're going to spend, I'm not talking bills. Because most fights aren't about bills.
No, it's not about bills.
Couples they're like, wow, how dare you pay the mortgage this month? I was going to do it. No, those aren't the fights. The fights are always, you bought a barbecue.
You spent how much on clothes?
Yeah, and you dyed your hair that color. Like, those are the fights.
Yeah.
And so when the parents put themselves on money pants, that all goes away.
Yeah, where the family credit card or the family debit card is only used for bills.
Mm-hmm.
But Dad has his bag of cash. Mom has her bag of cash. They have their spending plans, which are, and once again, it's within a framework. It's, he can't go out and buy drugs and alcohol or,
Well, if that's the problem, you're probably not
things.
using money pants anyway.
But yeah, if I go out and buy myself a gym membership or sign up to take ballet classes or decide, hey, I really want to get highlights in my hair and, whatever. And it's money that I've earned from taking care of all these responsibilities at home and improving myself and spending time with my kids and helping my kids out and my, getting meals done on time. You know what? there's not going to be a fight about this. Instead,
no. If anything, I'm going to be excited. I'm like, wow.
Oh, she looks gorgeous.
And congrats on all your hard work.
And as long as I
effort.
use my money and not the family card, there's no fight.
No, it's the opposite. Like the barbecue, I think is a great example because moms would be like, oh, well, we could definitely use that. And that means dad's going to be barbecuing more too. Great.
And what's cool is
or if he buys those tools, she's like, he's going to be fixing stuff around the house. Good for me.
I've actually read, since we developed this product, I've read in the Wall Street Journal where financial gurus, they'll have articles about couples and fighting about money. And some of the experts on this is exactly what they recommended to avoid fights, is that you should split money off so that the husband and wife have personal money that they can spend on how they would like.
Yes.
And have that separate from the family finances. And I was like, oh, that's what Money Pants does. But it actually, that is sound advice. So whether you use Money Pants or not, that actually works. And I'm not using the family's money to make these purchases. It's coming out of my personal money that I'm having to budget and work within and go, well, I'll buy cheaper clothes, but I want to go to this fancier salon. Or, hey, I'm going to have the neighbor girl cut my hair for $15 and I want to spend my money here or there. And so it just gives you that level of freedom, but also you don't feel like you're getting criticized by your spouse or somebody's looking over your shoulder or you're stressing somebody else out. No. It's your money and you can stress yourself out with your own little money. And it's cash. It is not a credit card.
Right.
And so
no,
once again,
you can only spend money that you've already earned. You cannot go into debt using Money Pants. And that's one of the tenets. We do not condone, authorize, or in any way encourage debt. Using Money Pants.
And the great thing about this is not only is it money set aside for husband and wife, but once again, it's money you earned from improving yourself and reaching your goals.
That's intensely satisfying.
Which is very attractive. You have your spouse working out and becoming better and developing their talents.
And trying to become a better person.
And that is like, reading their scriptures and they're just becoming a better person.
Well, we talk about that upward spiral.
Yeah. It's a win. It's definitely a win-win situation. But this, if you are having, tension there in your marriage between you and your spouse over money, try Money Pants. It will totally change how you feel about your spouse and their spending.
The thing is, you can use this even if you don't have kids. Even if it's just you and your spouse, put both of you on Money Pants. Because again, the whole concept of Money Pants is to siphon off some of the discretionary money the family was already spending and have people earn it and then spend it themselves. So it will work even if there's only a couple, a husband and a wife. Money Pants will work. The only caveat is you have to have at least one person that you're reporting to. So there has to be at least two people.
Yeah.
But it could be a husband and a wife. And it will work. And it'll work wonders. And it's amazing. And it'll reduce those fights and solve all sorts of amazing problems.
You won't be annoyed with each other and, getting frustrated with the other person about their spending habits and stuff like
really
that.
Cool.
Where you're like, I'm scrimping and saving. All that's going to be gone. And as long as you stick to the rules of, hey, that's your spending money in that bag, this is mine, and you earn it.
But when you have that, even if it's very small, it's amazing because it engenders this sense of freedom. Even if it's remember when we first got married, Hannah, we got, I think it was $10 a month or $20 a month.
Yes.
A month. And we
it just kept you from going crazy.
It did. And even if you're dirt poor, it's got to be a couple bucks. You have to have that money that's yours that you can spend however you want.
Well, what happens if you don't is this. You're like, okay, every penny has to go towards this. Every penny has to go towards this. And eventually you end up cracking and blowing a bunch of money.
No, that has been shown. Study after study has been shown. You end up, it's like you're like a bomb where you're so tightly wound that eventually you explode. And you go, oh, well, I'm going to save this penny and this penny and this penny and this penny. And then all of a sudden you blow $1,000 on something.
I'm buying a new car.
It's like, okay, so all those pennies you saved were totally wiped out and then some.
And now we're in a worse situation.
Yeah.
And
so it's what you're doing is you're actually releasing some tension when you just give that little bit of money even if it's a tiny $5, $10,
It's just a little bit of freedom is what it is.
it releases some of that pressure. So I guess to kind of wrap it all up, that when you're setting up the spending plan, there are some major benefits. You just said, it prevents fights, but more importantly, it really gets the kids motivated and excited to work because they know what they're working towards. The money is now working for them. They have the money has a purpose. And like Dan Brown said, money is a poor motivator. Little green pieces of paper mean nothing. But when those little green pieces of paper represent football or science camp or scout camp or ballet lessons or piano lessons, all of a sudden those little green slips of paper mean the world and the kids are excited. So when you're coming up with a spending plan, you got to make sure your kids are on board and you got to get their input. Because again, and we've talked about this before, you're going to be surprised what they want to spend their money on. It's so exciting as a parent to get to know your kid's personality and see, wait, I thought for sure you'd want to spend all your money on clothes. And like, no, I want to spend all my money on art supplies. Who knew? And you let them make those decisions
within the framework.
Because you, Mom, were going to spend all your money for little Sally on clothes, and little Sally could care less. She wants to do art. And you didn't know that. And by doing the spending plan with Sally, you go, oh my gosh, who knew? I had a really good friend, a coworker years ago, who said that he was going down a bad road when one year he got a present of, what do they call an airbrush kit? Changed his life. He discovered that he had an incredible talent for art. He had no idea. He'd never been introduced to it. He'd never done any of that before. And somebody gave him the kit and he's like, whatever. And he started playing around with it and he went, I kind of like this. And not only that, I'm pretty good. And he ended up making a career out of that skill. So the whole idea is to give your kids some of the freedom of making their own choices with the money they're going to be earning. And to set it up ahead of time and to come up with a plan. And when you do that, you'll be infinitely more pleased with the money that you spend, and you won't end up making bad financial decisions, and you won't be making those impulse purchases that you regret.
Well, and then keep in mind, this is your kids, and you're sitting them down going, okay, where do you want your money to go? And taking them through these steps. This is very much a learning process for them, and this will help them for the rest of their life.
Yes, these are life skills.
These are life skills, and they're going to take it with them the rest of their lives, and they're going to see the benefits of it, and they're going to be in a habit of planning things out with their money and thinking about what they really want. And
working towards that.
And then developing these budgeting skills and learning, hey, this is how a budget works. This is what I do.
And it's awesome.
And a budget's actually empowering. It's not restrictive. It's empowering. And they're going to find that they love having these piggy banks where they know where their money's going. It's going where they want it to go. And they're in control of their money, and they're going to love it. It's empowering.
That makes me think of the whole kite example, where people are like, you see somebody flying a kite, the kite's way up in the sky and it's being held down by the string, and the kite's probably thinking, oh, that stupid string is so restrictive. It's restricting me, so I can't go higher. But what happens if you cut the string? The kite falls to the ground. The string wasn't restricting it. The string was actually letting it fly. Yeah. Same idea. The budget is not a restriction. It's actually what lets you fly.
It's what helps you reach the things that you actually wanted to get to.
To truly soar. And it's exciting. Whew. So if you like what you hear in this podcast, please tell your friends. Maybe they would like to listen to what we have to say too. Maybe there's something in here that would really help them. And if you have suggestions for a future podcast, please go to our website under support and click contact us, send us an email, and we'll jump right on it. And that's it for today. Those are all of our thoughts on spending plan and the power of having a budget and having a spending plan. And that's it for today. Enjoy some Falcon Jasper ingenious indie interludes. We'll see you next time.